Well, ladies, after my last little cooking adventure, I've had numerous requests for a little bit more in the cooking department. Apparently some of you ladies would like to see the men in the kitchen. So today for you I'm going to make some of my favorite cinnamon buns. I have already put in my bowl here, my mixer bowl, a half a cup of sugar, 2 teaspoons of salt. Now it's a little unconventional, but I've already thrown my eggs in there as well. I know that the dry ingredients and the wet shouldn't be together yet, but this is the way I've done it. I have in here a cup of scalded milk, a 3/4 cup of warm water, and a 1/4 cup of shortening that I'm going to now add to my dry mixture. And in here I have my yeast mixture, which will now go in. Now I'm just going to stir this up a bit, get it all nicely mixed, get the eggs all beat up in there, and then I'm going to add 6.5 to 7 cups of flour. So, I will talk to you again in a few minutes. Now ladies, we want to give this dough a good beating. We want it to be nice and fluffy and airy. We don't want it to be a heavy, thick dough, so we give it a really good beating. And I'll just add a tad more flour to this, and I think we'll be almost done. Yes, that should do it, ladies. Alright ladies, I just want to show you what a proper ball of dough should look like. It should be nice and smooth. It should be springy. You see that? I can punch it down and it springs right back up. It's a beautiful ball of dough. So what I'm going to do is just lightly flour this, put it back in our bowl, and I'm going to let it rise for a while. Now we need to prepare our ooey gooey sticky topping for the buns. So for that purpose I have here a pound of butter. I'm going to take off a small portion, perhaps a 1/4 cup. I'm going to melt it in my saucepan. This is going to be used later for the dough. The remainder of the butter I am going to put in a larger saucepan. With it I am going to add a cup and a half of brown sugar. We're going to take it and we're going to melt that down. And when it gets melted we're going to then cream it, but we'll deal with that in a few minutes. Alright, come on over here and take a look at the pot here. We have our butter and our sugar mixture, and it is almost melted, and what we want to do is we want to take a whisk and we just want to work it in together and get this whole mixture to just come together. Now, a couple of options. You can add a little bit of cinnamon to your base as well. We are going to put cinnamon on the dough, but we're going to add a little to the base just to give it an extra bit of cinnamony flavor. Another option, if you really want some nice ooey gooey cinnamon buns, is you can add a good dollop of cream to it too, just for the arteries. And then we got to whisk this up really well until it all emulsifies together here. That smells good. Now look at that. We have a nice, creamy, sugary base. And in a few minutes we'll be rolling out our dough and we will be doing that process. So for now I'm just going to turn the heat off and leave that aside. Alright, we have our dough here. As you can see, it's at least double in size. It's nice and smooth and springy. It's a beautiful piece of dough. We're just going to roll that out now onto our table. Oh, it's warm, beautiful dough. Now, we're going to brutalize it a bit, make sure we get all the bubbles out. So, just give her some good punches. Roll it out here a bit. have to be mean to it. The meaner you are, the better it comes out. Get all those bubbles out. Work the dough. Work it. Work it. All right. Then we're just going to take it and we will proceed to roll it out here in a few minutes. All right, I've begun the process of rolling out my dough. I want to make a nice rectangle because we're going to be rolling this and we want it to be nice and even. As you can see, I've sprinkled some flour on my work surface so the dough doesn't stick to the table. And every once in a while, we'll just give her a flip. Make sure it's staying nice and loose. Nice dough. Again, we want to make sure it has a nice rectangular shape. That's looking pretty good. There, I think that ought to do that. Now, while we're still on, I'm going to add the butter that we've set aside. And we'll just drizzle that over the whole surface here. And we'll take our trusty little spreader and just spread it out. Now I know what they mean when they say if you can't stand the heat, stay out of the kitchen. It is hot in here. There we go. Now we're going to take a little cinnamon. Unfortunately, I don't have a sprinkler end on this, so I'll just have to be very careful. Give it a nice, even covering. Beautiful. And we'll take about a cup of brown sugar and do the same. Just a little bit more, I think. And once again, I think I'll take my trusty spreader and just make sure it's nice and even. And for those of you who like raisins and nuts, now would be a good time to maybe put some walnuts and spread a few raisins on there, but I've got some kids that don't really like that on there, so I'm not going to put it inside the dough. We'll do something a little bit different. There we go. Now we proceed to roll this baby up. Just start on one edge and just give it a nice tight roll to begin with. Make sure we get a nice triangular shape here, and we begin to roll. Make sure it stays nice and tight. Make sure the ends stay nice and square. This process does take a little bit of practice. We can put the bottom side of the roll on the bottom. And you can see we've got a nice, even roll. Looks nice and even the whole way through. Now, we need to determine how many pieces we need. So we take a look at our pans. I've got 2 decent sized pans here, so I think I could put 2, 4, 6, 8 in there, and 6 in there. So we need 14 pieces.